And we're joined by the Hall of Famer at every level imaginable, high school, college, and pro. The great Earl Campbell joins us on 365 Sports. What did you think of your Horns, the Longhorns, Saturday with what they did to Oklahoma and who they are right now?
First of all, I think they did a great job. And I think what we at the university need to start doing is giving Coach Sarkisian and his coaching staff what they're doing. I think there's more respect. I think we have a great coach at the university. I think we need to start acting such.
So do you think that there's still, you get the feeling that there's still people a little bit grumpy about him?
Well, I just don't, from what I can see, and may I say this, I'm a Monday morning coach and a fifth grade teacher quarterback. So just from what I can see, I don't think we at the university respect and give him and his staff and the coaches what they're doing. I think they need to turn him loose and let's show him that we want him to be a part of our family.
And obviously with what they did to Oklahoma Saturday, the largest route, shutout, all that, that Texas has done to OU, don't you think that if there was any of that, don't you think that calms that down?
I would think so, but, you know, one game doesn't make a coach. But I think that he's proven himself, and I think we need to start acting accordingly. And not only with our mouth, I think our paychecks as well as that.
How often have you talked to him about just life, Earl, about his life, about your life, and had some heart-to-hearts with him just about, you know, not football coach or Hall of Famer, just people?
I think we've had a conversation about 4 times.
And how did he handle you being as honest as you were and you being honest with him and discussing life?
I think there's no secret that I'm a part of Alcohol Anonymous, and I don't think there's no secret that Coach Sarkisian is part of Alcohol Anonymous as well. And I think we both are honest about it and we talk about it. And that's why I pull for him more than I do the average coach, because I know what's at stake for him.
Earl, the way Texas is right now with the explosiveness they have on offense, it obviously appears there's a rhyme and a reason with what they've done defensively. Despite the loss to Tech, they do have a rhyme and a reason. No matter who you're playing, to shut somebody out in this day and age is hard to do. But let me ask you about Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson. 2 different type of styles, but both very, very good. Both would be a star running back on their respective teams. Your thoughts as a great running back about what you see from those 2?
I think they both are tremendous running backs as well as football players. But I think you're only good as the people around you on your team and your coaches and all that. That's why I think Coach Sarkisian has done a terrific job in managing all that talent.
Quinn Ewers came back after he was hurt against Alabama. Your thoughts about his talent and what he brings to that program, even though Card played very, very well?
Well, Arnold Card played very well, but I think from what I could see what happened in the Oklahoma game, that was just a different style of football. That's what it takes to win football games. And when that quarterback came back, it just showed it, just picked everything up 2 or 3 notches.
What is, when you look at what players are doing now and what the changes in the NCAA with NIL, with the transfer portal, none of that was available back in the day. None of that was available even really 3 or 4 years ago, 2 years ago. What are your thoughts? And have you ever thought about what Earl Campbell would have been able to demand if the NIL was available when you came out of John Tyler High School?
Well, I think Earl Campbell got what he was due. I'm not bitter about the situation that's going on now. I think that's great for our athletes because I think that there's so much funds involved into college football and all that. So I think it's all for great that it can be shared between the players as well as the school as well as the coaches.
I saw where Quinn Ewers gave his offensive line some Tony Lucchese, I think it was, some bags or whatever for protecting him and obviously helping the offense. If you would have had that opportunity back in the day, do you think about what gift you might have given to your offensive lineman?
Well, when it came time for me to step up to the trial, when you get into pro football, one of the things that was real popular is when you gain 1,000 yards, you took care of your offensive lineman. So my first year, I gave them something. My second year, I gave them something. And my third year was my third MVP in the league. And I reached up and I gave them something that I think all of them would really appreciate even more than when I gave them before. And I gave them all Rolex watches.
That was when you were with the Oilers, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember some of those stories. Earl, do you miss playing the game at all? You've been out now for a long time, but do you miss the game?
No, man, I'm 65 years old. I got so much stuff I'm involved in. And it's like this. Football has kind of passed me by. You thought I was lying when I told you I was a Monday morning quarterback or a Monday morning running back. That's because I'm so much involved in other things. I don't have time to watch football like people think I do.
When you do watch football today, what do you see at the college or pro level?
I see that as college football is just one of the greatest things going. I see the kids really trying, and you can tell that these coaches have their stamp on the program, and those programs that the coach have his stamp on, they seem to be the one that's playing, that's winning the games. You can tell the team that's more disciplined and all that stuff, you can tell that coach. I can just look at that team one player or two and tell that coach is really involved in the children.
You know, you mentioned you're involved in so much more as a businessman, as somebody that is in demand quite a bit. The Hall of Fame in pro football in Canton, of course, the College Football Hall of Fame, and also the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, Texas High School Football Hall of Fame. But you are in demand, and when you're in a room, people want to gravitate. They do gravitate to you. What does that mean to you?
It means a lot, you know, because I think it ain't that I said, and I think from what I've done over the years, people kind of know that with Earl, you're going to give it a very respectable man, and you know what? He demands you respect him, and he's going to give you that kind of respect.
Do you sometimes not know exactly where you're supposed to be with so many people wanting you?
Well, that's the best thing about being Earl and not having managers and stuff, just my kids and myself. I kind of know where I got to be and what I want to do. You know, son Christian does a very good job of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're always helping find room for where you're supposed to be and make sure you're there.
And my son Tyler is like his mother. He counts money very good.
Hey, I've been Tyler's been on our show. We obviously know Christian incredibly well, but Tyler does these podcasts now about life and about lessons and motivations, and it's an incredibly powerful story that he can tell. How much do you guys talk about his life?
Now, me and Tyler got quite a bit, even though he wrote a book and all that. What happened is Tyler, when Christian got tired of traveling with me, Tyler went on a trip to me in Cleveland. That was his first trip. And Jim Brown and myself was there, and Tyler was sitting on my leg. And I mean, it was all kind of, it was like who's who of running backs was there. Of course, Jim was first. And Tyler sitting on my knee, and he heard Jim Brown say, "Hey, guys, it's time to go to the public. Listen at this. I'm going to be first, Earl second. The rest of you fools get where you want to be." And Tyler heard that, and he never forgotten that. And he always says, my dad, my Jim Brown says my dad is second, and he's the best, you know. Tyler took it to another level, but Tyler used to hang around with me. And when I went to the university, I majored in speech communication. That's what I got my bachelor's degree in. And Tyler, I would like to think that some of what he's doing, he's learned it from myself.
Earl, the fight you have fought as well, you mentioned conversations with Steve Sarkisian before about what he has been through, what you have been through, what many people have been through. You and I, the last time I really had a chance to visit with you a little bit on the phone, you were talking about at times at night or in the evenings that you conduct discussions with people about depression and those type of things, the mental health. How much more has that come into your life that people now open up to you about that?
I think quite a bit. You know, I'm not embarrassed. I'm not ashamed about it. I'm really happy that I'm a part of Alcohol Anonymous and drug addiction and the mental health, because I went through a lot of that. And I know what people are talking about. And that's one of the things Sarkisian and I talk about a lot, because we both know we're doing drugs or taking pain pills, drinking Budweiser, tequila, white wine, red wine. We know what that does to somebody like us. So it's part of our responsibility to try to tell somebody else, be young, old school teacher, principal, or football player, just tell them about what that would do to your life. And that's how Stark and I really got talking about it, because I kind of know a little bit about Stark's problem, and he probably didn't know nothing about me, but he said, Earl, I got in a lot of trouble for doing blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, I heard about that. He said, I can tell you all about what that'll do to you. I said, well, you know, I've been a member for 13, 14 years almost. I know what that'll do to you, too. I'm a member, too. We used to go to the same meetings now. But he was a good guy, man. And that's why I think not only am I willing to fight for him, but because I believe in what he's doing.
Earl, for someone like yourself who has been in the role as one of the greatest players in the history of whatever level we've talked about, I've mentioned that many times, was it at all ever difficult for you to have to, like, admit when Tyler and Christian had the intervention? Was it eventually tough for you to publicly admit, because you're this big, strong, powerful man, that you are no different than anybody else that has problems on this earth?
Well, what happened was, because of my kids are the reason I did the damage, that's why I ended up there. But I only ended up there because my two children sit down and talk to me about it. And that's because we had such a great relationship as father, son, best friends, and all that. And it was a time they had to stop saying, we got superstar dad, we got Hall of Fame dad. We got a dad we want to see alive. And when they explain that to me like that, and, you know, now they're not afraid to leave their 5 grandchildren with me. Or like about a week ago, I had an appointment with my 5-year-old granddaughter, Cheyenne. She got tired of seeing me take Messiah, which is my oldest grandson. Him and I go shopping. She said she wanted to go shopping on her birthday, and she wanted Pops to take. And Pops wouldn't have been able to take her shopping because my church wouldn't have let me have my grandchildren if I was doing all that other stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's a positive side of life. You know, those are things you like to hear. It's not the person that make a mistake in life. No matter what it is, no matter how old you are, no matter what level you're on, it's the person that's willing to get up and do something about it.
Why do you think, Earl, that no matter who the opponent was, the rival was, whether it was A&M or Oklahoma or anyone else, or even in the NFL, the Steelers, etc., why do you think that no matter what, people look at you, even if they were a rival, and loved what you were and what you represented and the player you were?
Well, that's because I was raised by a great lady, Miss Ann Campbell, unfortunately. My dad died at such a young age, so she had to step in and be the mother, the father, the brother, the sister, the best friend, because she taught us well. And it was up to us to put that on display. And when I came down to the university, I really did want to be just a pro football player. And I got there and I learned that you could be educated as well as a football player. And I think things like that is when you step back and look at life and say, gee, what mom, what brother, and what uncle and auntie and best friends were saying was really right. I'm happy I listened. And that's one of the unfortunate things. I will fight until the day I die because I think it's very, very selfish of us that are around these athletes in schools that Baylor, the University of Texas, TCU, anything. I think it's embarrassing that these children are such a successful football players and college athletes. But I think it's a hell of an embarrassment to have children on your campus and they can good enough to run your basketball, hit your baseball, play your football. But after 3-4 years when they leave there, they played around their whole life and you didn't have enough to help them kids get an education. I think every program in America should be embarrassed about that. And there's a lot of those schools now, those kids are good enough to be their athletes, but they don't do a damn thing about making sure those kids get an education.
Do you feel like now, Earl, because of the NIL, because young men and women, athletes are getting money, that the education part or the transfer portal, they can leave almost any time they want? Does that also on the athlete to make sure that they follow up too?
I think it's very important. It starts from the top down, from your athletic director all the way down to your professors at school, your mom and dad, letting these kids get away with that. I only say this because I know how it feels to play college football. I know how it feels to get an education while you're trying to play football. And I know how it feels to raise your children that's not going to be able to be as successful as dad was in pro football. But seeing them now out in the world producing because they're educated kids.
Earl,
And I hit the slump one time, and I was talking to Christian and Tyler, and they said, "What, Dad? Why do we need to do this?" Why? I said, "You need to get you an education." Well, what is that? I turned around the wall and looked. And they said, "Oh, that's speech communication." I said, "That's where I got my degree from at the University of Texas." And as people know, these universities, if their kids are good enough to play your football and baseball, they're good enough to get an education.
Last question for you, sir. And as always, we appreciate you anytime you can be a part of the show. Texas, with the great win on Saturday and what they did, they have Iowa State coming into town. There has been really for about, 10 or 12 years where Texas has been like a roller coaster of emotions, up and down and up and down and up and down. And anytime it seems like they're about to go back up and stay up, then there is not a good ending for a game or two or three or four. What makes you think this team might be one that allows them to sustain the success that they had this weekend and so far with most of it this year?
Well, let me tell you something. If you go back and look when they started playing Alabama, they showed people that they can play with football against the elite. And that's because of Sarkisian and what he brings to the program. But what those kids have shown, including last Saturday, that wasn't just a fluke. They showed the American people and those Texas fans that we are a good football team. But what happens is, it's like when Darryl Royal and Fred Akers was coaching me down at the university. The thing that they need to realize is every week, you're in the Southwest Conference, used to be Big 12 now, but every week when you go to University of Texas, I understood from Jump Street, I was in the Super Bowl because everybody wants to be Texas. And I think Sarkisian has shown these guys, y'all are just as good as anybody else. Now let's just go do it.
Earl, Thank you, as always, for what you do. Earl Campbell, a Hall of Fame at every level in football, an incredible man as well, with us on 365 Sports. Earl, thank you.
I thank you very much. But what happened to me now is I've signed a deal in Vegas, and I come out here once a month. So that's why it's been so hard for you to catch up to me. I'm on the road.
I know. I get it. I get why they would want you there in Vegas and anywhere because of the popularity of what you do. That's Earl Campbell, the great Earl Campbell on 365 Sports.